Several days ago I removed green water from the 2 jars on the right to seed my Daphnia cultures and replaced the water I removed with used aquarium water. And look at that! A couple of days ago, suddenly those 2 cultures turned greener than the other 2. So when culturing green water, an explosion of phytoplankton will suddenly turn the water green, and a container that you had that was relatively clear the day before can be dark green today. This is the experimental potting soil tank, and it is fertilized with potting soil, compost, and fluval stratum. It looked alright for a while, but it had kind of a dirty look. Cleaner look at this stage now that it's settled down. I've been keeping the plants that I removed from the planted 10 gallon in this isolation tank for a few weeks while waiting for the experimental potting soil tank to settle down. Several driftwood ornaments with, I believe it's Anubias Nana Petite attached, and also Java moss. And over here I have a couple of Anubias variants that are making a comeback. Floating on the surface is the water wisteria. I'll start back here with the largest ornament. I'm going to try to fill in the space. The largest leaf on the plant to the left is deteriorating, but I believe it has new growth, so once that leaf is established, I should be able to clip the damaged leaf. I want to have enough room to put my hand between the decorations and the glass so I can clean off the algae. So let's see if I can move this one in closer. That should work better. To round off the scape, I have one more piece of wood with lots of Java moss. Now that those decorations have had a chance to calm down, I'll put the terrestrial plants in. There's some dwarf spikerush. Dwarf spikerush is also called hairgrass. Here's some water wisteria. I have quite a bit of water wisteria that has grown quite tall. I may decide to trim the water wisteria once it settles in. I'm going to go ahead and just put the tall water wisteria in as it is. Water wisteria is one of my favorite plants because it is so easy to propagate. Sometimes a single leaf can form a new plant. But the plant can be trimmed anywhere along the stalk and replanted. The new plant usually forms from the clipping. Now that the tank has had some time to settle, I think it looks much better than it did before I capped the experimental potting soil with black gravel. For now, I'm keeping the tank unheated so that it'll be available for my adult white clouds should they breed in the other 10-gallon. A few pygmy chain swords and a few sprigs of pearlweed survived the couple weeks in the isolation tank. So rather than plant them in the gravel of the experimental potting soil tank, where their roots are unlikely to reach the fertilizer, I put them in this planted 10-gallon among the dwarf Sagittaria. There's also potting soil under the fluval stratum, so hopefully those plants will do well in here. A bit of the pearlweed. Pygmy chain sword looks very similar to dwarf Sagittaria, so I'm not even sure not exactly sure which ones are pygmy chain sword. I do believe the one on the far right is a pygmy chain sword. And there are a few surviving pygmy chain swords among the dwarf Sagittaria.